Welcome to Shop Talk Live, Fine Woodworking Magazine's bi-weekly podcast. I'm your host and Fine Woodworking editor, Tom McKenna. And with me this episode, our special projects editor, Matt Kenny.
Hello, everyone.
And our web producer, Ben Strano.
Hello.
Mike is on the road teaching this week. And as always, helping behind the camera is Jeff Rose. Before we get started with the questions, let me take care of some business. Remember to visit finewoodworking.com to keep up with the tool giveaway for our 40th anniversary. The current prize is Oneida's Dust Deputy Deluxe. To win, you must enter by September 12th. To enter, go to finewoodworking.com/40sweeps. That's the number 40. Again, that's finewoodworking.com/40sweeps.
And I need to add that Fine Woodworking is co-sponsoring a little contest with Oneida. And if you go to oneida-air.com, I'm sorry, just oneida-air.com/ACS for the American Craftsman Showcase. And there's two categories. There's a woodworking category and a wood turning category. And 3 prizes for each. You enter, the Oneida guys will judge, and you can win a 1.5 horsepower V system Oneida dust collector for the woodworking category, and the turning is the mini gorilla, 1.5 horsepower mini gorilla. And then there's cash prizes and other prizes after that.
Is it too late for us to enter?
I don't think legally we could. So
why not? You don't work for Fine Woodworking anymore.
Get out.
After I finish mixing this podcast, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun.
So, and I think there's a hashtag if you want to enter and then post on social media to hashtag ACS16.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah. It needs to roll off the thumb. That's what matters.
Oh, wow.
Bam.
Man, what did I ever do to get stuck with the two of you on a podcast?
It's your dream job. You know it.
It just happened. Hey, before we jump into some questions, I wanted to talk about something that was pretty special that happened with the October issue. For the 40th, Mike Pekovich thought, hey, it would be cool if we rolled out a vintage cover that harkened back to the good old days of black and white. And when the cover looked more like a journal than, like a newsstand publication that it became. So we rolled out this cover for our subscribers, and we received so much feedback in a positive way that it's become a permanent thing for our subscribers. So,
very nice.
I didn't know if I knew that.
Thank you all for sending us letters and emails by the dozen. I mean, I don't think I've ever gotten a response to anything in the magazine. In all the years I've been with them, from various jobs, I don't think we've ever had a response like this before.
It was
from
like
readers.
63 people.
At least.
Now, did you wait until Mike wasn't here to announce this? Because now that's doubled
Not on purpose.
the amount of cover work he has to do. And he's sulking.
No, it's all good. So thank you all for chiming in, and we're going to continue on with this special cover. Like I said, for subscribers on the newsstand, folks will see the current cover that we have out there.
Current style.
The current style,
Yeah, the
right.
style we've had
Which
for
is
a while.
special, too. They're all special.
Yeah.
We love them all.
The content is the same inside. Yeah. It's just that the subscribers got lucky this time. So,
Woohoo.
Woo.
it's good news.
Yay. I'm excited.
Where's the applause?
Post.
No,
Bonk, bonk, bonk.
no, God.
Clap, clap, clap.
Let's,
Clap, clap, clap. Clap, clap, clap.
Keep doing it. Just give me more and more and more.
let's get to a question. This one comes from Dan. And Dan writes, my most recent project, a walnut box, was the first dark wood that I used paste wax on. I noticed a slight haze and some of the light wax filling the grain. I realized that I probably should have used a dark paste wax, and I'm sure the recipients of the box won't notice, but I'll know. Is there a way to remedy this?
Yeah, there is. But I maybe
Just throw the box out and make it again.
Yeah, just make it new. Yeah. I mean, come on. No, so first of all, he's right. The recipients aren't going to notice. So, you could just relax and give them the box. But I know that's hard to do. I'm the same way. So I think what I would do is not.
That was a nice pause.
I think what I would do, as opposed to what Ben's going to tell you to do in a minute.
Ben's going to insert a drum roll.
Yeah. Is most waxes will dissolve under mineral spirits, and mineral spirits will not destroy your finish that is underneath it, and it won't destroy the box, and it won't mess up any glue or anything like that. So first, you could just soak a cloth or a paper towel in mineral spirits and rub that over it and see if that gets it all out. Now, it's possible, I guess, if there's some down in the pores that it won't quite get that. And so the other thing you could try is to sort of flood the surface with mineral spirits, and that should work to dissolve it. And then you can go back over with a dark wax. The one thing I would caution, though, is I've done dark waxes over walnut. Usually what I'll do is dye my own wax, to make it brown or something using artist tints or oil paint, something like that. Is that it can look just kind of as off because you get this dark color in all the pores, and then you have like these dark speckled spots all over the piece of wood.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing to do, and I think we've discussed this in the past in relative to oak and other really open pored woods, is that when you apply the wax, don't try to rub it gently over the surface rather than trying to really mush it down into everything.
And maybe thin it a little bit.
You could thin it a little bit. So, and go with that clearer paste wax.
One thing you could do at this point, though, would be to
burn it.
pour mineral spirits on it and burn it. No, is to go over it with a liming wax and make it a more intentional look.
Intentionally ugly?
Well,
Is that the look you're after?
there's an awful lot of liming wax being sold right now. So
Liming wax works with white oak, I think.
I have never seen it on
Ebonized
walnut,
ash. Yeah, I don't think it would look good on walnut. Don't do that,
okay.
gentlemen.
Don't.
You could heat it up with a hairdryer and trying to melt the wax and maybe get it more into the pores and make it worse.
I've got an extra hairdryer lying around. So.
There's not a whole lot
I
of
do
hairdryer
appreciate
usage going on here.
But initially, before we did the podcast, you suggested a heat gun to melt the wax.
He toned it back a little bit.
I'm glad you dialed it back to just to a hairdryer.
Well, I had suggested a jointer, but nobody liked that idea.
Yeah, I know. The mineral spirits is the least destructive thing to do.
Yeah.
So I would try that first.
Burning it being the most destructive.
Being the most destructive, yeah. And then a light touch when you reapply. I would try reapplying clear wax and do it with a light touch.
But, I mean, this brings up a really, really good point that you should always have sample boards for things like this.
Yeah.
Especially the first time working with a particular
material, sure,
species.
in a finish.
Yeah.
But but walnut it's not as open pored as say the oaks, but it still has open pores, and so just generally speaking, if you apply a wax heavily, it's going to get into the pores, and if it's a clear wax, it'll stay white. It won't become clear, So
Why do they call it clear?
I don't know.
All right. These are philosophical questions we can't tackle right now. This next question comes from Matt, and Matt says, I'm building a harvest table, and I plan to use keyed mortise and tenons on the aprons and the middle stretcher. I'm not completely sure how I'm going to cut the angled mortise that will accept the key using a mortising machine. And my initial inclination was to cut a wedge at 7 degrees and place it under the workpiece, clamp it to the fence, and give it proper support on the end, and then cut the mortise. Will this work?
Yes.
All right, moving on.
Do we want to answer any more? Just yes.
Feel free. I've never cut a mortise on an angle like that on a mortising machine. So
I've done this before, and where I needed an angled mortise, and so I just created a wedge, and I used that wedge actually to cut my mortises and also to cut the angled shoulders on the tenons. I didn't have to move my.
Is this the master wedge that you invented?
Master wedgie.
This is just I don't remember if if Mike did this first and then I did this a couple of years ago when I made my traveling tool cabinet, and I needed angled mortises, and I used it for the mortises and also the tenons, and I think I used it one other place to scratch my back maybe. I can't remember where the third place was I used it, but so the issue is when you angle the workpiece up like that under this wedge, your the chisel is not going to enter the wood all at the same time. So there's, I think he's asking, do I need to worry about the chisel?
Yeah, he was worried about the bit not catching before the chisel.
Right, and I don't think so. Not with 7 degrees. I think you'll be fine.
Well, and there's a spur on the bit.
On the drill bit.
On the drill bit, which is going to hit first. And there's a spur on, the corner spurs on the chisel. So, right. I mean, they're going to catch.
Yes.
And as long as your piece is clamped down to the mortiser, it won't get pushed out of the way or anything like that. It would be fine, right?
Yes, it'll be fine. And the one thing that is tricky is that if your mortiser has a depth stop on it and you're going to want to keep using that depth stop so that the mortise is the same depth relative to the surface through all the cuts you make, then so you make your first cut into the wood at one end, and then normally you would maybe move the table or you have to move the workpiece and make the next cut. When you're using the wedge cannot move. It's only the workpiece that should move because you've set that bit depth relative to the height of the wood when it's at a certain location on the wedge. And the wedge, of course, is a different, so if you move everything.
But why would you be setting a depth stop? Because you're doing a through mortise.
Is he doing a through mortise?
Why would you wedge it?
It's a keyed mortise.
Through.
Oh, I thought he was cutting dovetails. Yeah, you're right. It's anyways, but generally speaking,
Matt Kenny said I was right.
This guy, whose name is Matt, is cutting through mortises. But if you're not cutting through mortises, when you do this, you would want to keep the wedge in the same location, and slide the workpiece up and down on the wedge, so that your bit would go the same depth each time.
So if you're doing a chair or something like that.
Yeah, I've only done those.
If you're doing a stopped mortise.
I've done those angled mortises just using a chisel and a guide block.
Yep. Yeah, that works pretty well.
Domino.
Yeah, a domino. But also use that same wedge, take over to your table saw, and with your miter gauge set at 90 degrees, put that wedge on there, and you can cut all your shoulders to the exact right angle.
Perfectly matched.
Sounds like
Brilliant.
an article.
It does. The wedge is awesome.
The wedges. Cool.
Yeah. But Mike and I don't want to share the technique. We want to be the only two magicians in America that know it.
The only wedgers.
Every copy of the magazine would come with a non-disclosure agreement.
It's going to come with a lock and a key.
Eventually, it'll make it into the wedge. We'll make it in some fashion. I have a great beautiful boxes that I've made using the wedge.
I thought that was just By the way, have you seen the box that I made?
It's beautiful. It's my favorite furniture of all time this week.
But we're not doing
We're not even doing that.
So I am.
It is time for our all-time favorite article of all time for this week. So,
you don't have any sound effects for that, do you?
Who wants to go first?
I can go.
What?
I'll go first.
Good.
So I read this article for the first time when I was sitting. I was at my friend Joe Mazurik's shop. He's the guy that taught me to make furniture. And it was break time or lunchtime or something. And so we were sitting up in the front of in the store part of his business where they sold commercial furniture. And he had all these old copies of fine woodworking sitting around. And during lunchtime, I would leaf through them. So one day I picked up issue number 54, which is from September, October 1985. 1985, a long time ago.
Ben was 4.
Ben was 4 years old, still wearing diapers. Today you are even wearing diapers. And so I was reading, flipping through it, and I came across this wonderful story called Quilted Mahogany The Tale of a Magnificent Mutant. And
I think that's
Different
coming out in
times.
theaters by Christmas.
it is. Yeah, it's the next installment of the X-Men series. It's by a guy named Mark Berry, who was a furniture maker, or could still be a furniture maker in California. And it tells a story about this piece of mahogany or this tree of that came from Honduras, which was, here's it says, in 1965 in Honduras, some jungle whose name I can't pronounce, a party of loggers discovered a large mahogany tree over 100 feet tall, 110 feet in diameter at the base, and 50 feet to the first branches. And they cut down this tree, but it got wedged in a ravine. And so they left it there. And then for 18 years later, in 1971, someone was able to pull it out, and they started to cut it up. And the reason they wanted this tree in the first place, even though it was difficult to get at, was that all the bark spiraled up around the outside. So they knew that this was going to be figured. And when they started to cut it up, it turned out to be just unbelievably figured. It's gorgeous wood. And it's so figured that even the end grain is figured. And I've only seen that one other place, but not this well. And there's a few pictures of the mahogany in here. There's a picture of the mahogany at the sawmill. And at first you think, oh, those are just normal boards. But then you see a guy standing on the boards. And so the boards have got to be, they're gigantic. And it's a great little story about how this one amazing tree was found, left in the woods, later cut up, and then made its way into the United States as furniture wood. At least some of it did. And I recall later watching an episode of, who's the guy?
Mork and Mindy?
MacGyver?
Yes, it was actually a crossover of MacGyver and Mork and Mindy. No, Mark. He had the TV show
21 Jump Street.
Yeah. Oh man, he's the guy that lives in California. He had a woodworking show on like the DIY channel.
Oh yeah,
Zuckerberg?
Mark Zuckerberg. Oh, I cannot believe it. Why can't I remember this name? Woodworks.
it's David.
David Marks.
David Marks.
David Marks. And he had a show where he was going through his lumber stack, and he pulled out these boards, and he was like, "This is some really rare mahogany." And I'm telling you, they were from this tree.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was awesome. But it's only 2 pages long, but it's this cool little story about a piece of wood and its journey from Honduras to the United States and how beautiful it is.
It reminds me of, remember when that tornado tore through Salt Lake City, and Chris Gochner, one of our contributing editors, got a bunch of trees that were knocked down. I can't remember what they were, but he wound up building a desk out of it for the governor. I believe.
Yeah.
They were
talked about it on the
trees
podcast.
from
Was it
the.
chestnut?
I believe it was walnut. One of them was walnut.
Okay, I don't remember.
And poplar, and popular as well. Popular wood is beautiful. Everyone loves it. It was from there were trees that were actually on the state.
There was
Capitol
the Capitol grounds, right?
And then he built a new desk for the governor.
Yeah, it was very cool. I think we did something in Notes and Comment from way back when it happened. So, cool story.
Doodles and Notes for Woodland folks.
That's our sister publication.
But anyways, that's my favorite article of all time this week. So it's in issue 54.
nice.
I don't think are you going to make these available on the website?
I kind of have to now, don't I? Is this on the website?
I don't know. I doubt it.
Thanks, Matt.
We don't have rights to any of the photos or anything.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
well, if I can, I will make it available.
We'll just show a picture.
Yeah, we can take a picture of the thing.
Just some picture of some
Those are
mahogany.
nice, right?
It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be from. It's just random mahogany.
Okay, I just have cherry, so is that good enough?
That's good enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Close. Put some stain
This
on it.
cherry
Yeah,
is not
stain it.
mahogany, but the article Matt's likes is about mahogany.
Get some mahogany stain.
This
It'll
is
be
just
fine.
here, sitting here in my cube.
All right, man. You're up.
All right. Mine is when I pulled this out, I thought it'd be perfect because Matt would worry that it was Mike's tool chest from issue 234, August of 2013. I was 22. And, but it is the back cover.
Still wearing diapers.
In 2013,
I was 32. I'm sorry.
32. You said 22.
I did
was
say
like,
22.
It's this new math. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
The youngsters, they just don't get it.
Poor education right there. But it is the back cover of Lael Gordon's. It's a cabinet casework, but it's more about the veneer work that he does. And he's usually working in straight grained. This is all Douglas fir, but it's the way that he's ripping it out of the board at different biases, and the way that the light bounces off the different cuts, and then he makes a pattern out of the veneer. And I was just getting into woodworking when I saw this, and it just kind of blew my mind. And if my skill set ever matches up with my mind or what I would like to make one day, it would be
something like that.
Using this, it would be it just the idea of using the same piece of wood and having the light hit it in different directions.
Yeah.
Just really
manipulating the chatoyance.
Yeah.
Ooh. You know who's really done that well in a lot of his recent work is Tim Coleman. And he did a piece, a cabinet, and the doors were done with the veneer arranged in different patterns. And when you looked at it, it was looking like, remember those old 3D baseball cards? Maybe not you, Ben, but but you used to be able to, you'd spin it and the character or the player would turn in a different
It'd be like
direction.
holograms.
Yeah. That's really a cool effect.
Not really holograms.
It's just so cool. And I mean, to me, veneer has gotten such a bad rap. And Lael's work with veneers, just you couldn't possibly do this with solid wood. It's taking it to the next level, and phenomenal work with the veneer. And the other thing about it is he's coming up with patterns that in one light looks one way, and in another light you don't see the pattern at all. And it's really interesting. John Binzen has a Masters of the Craft that just shows a lot of his other work and just blows my mind. But this really just gets my mind working into what you can do with
another furniture maker who uses this technique is Brian Reed from Maine, and he's actually going to be in issue 257, which we send to the printer. Well, yeah, there is no issue 257, folks.
No. Actually, yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because David Lamb does the same thing in this issue. We kind of laid out. It's cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Something to look forward to.
That's a beautiful piece, though.
Yeah.
The work that he does is amazing.
Yeah, a lot of his stuff is just incredible. So.
Not all of it, though, Ben says. Ben says not all of the work you do is incredible, but a lot of it is.
I retract that. Mike's tool chest is.
Yes. All right. Well, mine is actually a very recent article, and it is by Michael Cullen, and it's called Beautiful Bandsawn Boxes, and it appeared in the December 2015 issue. That would be number 250. And one of the big thing that one of the reasons I picked this was that this article, I mean, as soon as I read it, after this issue came out, I went and I did it, which is sort of, not something I get to do very frequently. But I had this log, actually a couple logs from some birch logs that I pulled from my firewood pile, and I was thinking I was going to make some sort of a box out of them. And when I saw this, it was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need to do. And it's really simple to do. It's basically freeform. He lays out the instructions on how to do it so that it all works together, but you can basically create the shapes that you want, do different texturing methods and coloring methods. I just did it with, like I said, the birch log, which had a lot of spalt inside of it, and then I made a walnut top for it. I thought it came out pretty well. It was kind of my first foray into reclaimed or gnarly wood, but it was really good. And Michael's instructions were awesome. And one thing I did make a mistake, and I was so peeved because I wound up cutting the angles of the walls the same, and so I wound up with a
Parallelogram.
parallelogram.
Yeah.
And I was really peeved. I was like, "Are you kidding me? The instructions didn't tell me to enter in a different way." And I went back and I
just
reread it,
edited this.
and I just saw, oh, here's the arrow that I didn't look
Right.
at. So
Well, and it's a fine video workshop as well.
It is.
Yes.
Produced by Ben and I. Not really.
Edited by
edited
Jeff.
by Jeff.
Yeah.
Everybody in here.
It was
had
a
something to do
team
with this.
effort.
Yes.
So really cool. I just love the boxes. And from the video, if you watch the video, you can see how many of these boxes Michael has made. It's a pretty incredible gallery.
Yeah, and each one is incredible.
Yeah.
Each one of his boxes, and I mean, it kind of takes that bandsaw box to the next level. Doing that, it's a double bevel marquetry technique.
It's not
Just-
even that he takes it. His bandsaw boxes, you have your average run-of-the-mill bandsaw box, right?
Yeah.
They're down here, really
Yeah,
far
it's like
down.
the bandsaw reindeer.
Michael's stuff is just, it's almost like it's not even the same thing.
No,
It's a
box made with bandsaw.
It is a box made with a bandsaw, but it's not your average peephole bandsaw box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna stop that right there.
Hey, listen, I make no bones about it. Most bandsaw boxes are ugly.
Yeah.
Before we move past the favorite articles of all time,
Oh,
let me just point out that also
Let me retract everything I just said.
also in issue 54 of Fine Woodworking is perhaps one of the most notorious articles, at least amongst us in the office. Would you care to guess?
Can I look at it first?
It is the article on clomping.
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 clomping. What is a clomping?
You're showing tapered legs on a joiner.
No, clomping's on the other side.
What is that?
Clomping is wooden shoes, man.
Wooden shoes.
Oh.
Clomping.
That's a lost art right there.
Well, yeah, it is exactly. Because
No,
when-
there's a clomping resurgency.
there is.
Yeah.
I won't be part of that.
You spell. Oh, there it is, right on the spine too.
He's on the
Clomping.
spine. Yeah, clomping.
That's all you need. Clomping.
Clomping.
There's also the best title of an article of all time.
What is that
Form
We
laminating.
were talking about it at lunch.
in this issue?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. The article right after the one about the mahogany, it's called "Block Planes. What are they really for?"
We'll save that for another podcast. Let's get back to. Let's put this train back on the track.
I don't know if the value of 54 just raised or lowered on eBay. I don't know.
All right. The next question finally is from Ben, and not this Ben. What is the one piece you would love to build, but sadly may never get around to? And then there's a little PS from Matt. It says, Matt, stop hiding behind all of those boxes. We all know your secret love for period furniture. No.
Yes.
Anyway,
I love it just about as much as I love bandsaw boxes. Just kidding. I really do. I like bandsaw boxes. No, I don't. Who's going to go first?
Go, Ben.
Ben.
We wanna make Ben go first.
Yeah, because I know that we're all going to say the same thing. So I'm really glad I got to go first. I have always wanted to make the Boggs Adirondack ladderback chair.
It's not
And
Adirondack.
Adirondack
Appalachian.
inspired.
Appalachian.
Appalachian.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, but that's one of those things that I don't think I could do without taking a class and doing it in a class. And there's so many.
And having Brian make all the jigs.
Yeah, I know.
Do all the work.
And hand it to me at the end. But it's just a magnificent form, beautiful, beautiful piece. There's, even if Tom calls me into the office to yell at me, it's like I still get to sit in the box chairs.
Yeah.
But from time to time.
So that's yours. Brian Boggs ladderback chair.
Yeah,
Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous piece of furniture.
Comfortable.
that's yours.
Original, which is, neat too.
Yeah. You want me to go next?
Yeah.
Well,
Ben.
I thought
you were going to say bandsaw box.
bandsaw box. I'd really like to make a bandsaw box one day. One that has lots of organic shapes and like 30 drawers, and there's drawers inside drawers. Lots of flocking.
You're gonna go down, go all the way.
I think actually I would pick some type of fancy period piece, Because I really do admire
Is this
period
just because
work.
Ben called you out?
No, it's probably Ben Longshanks too. As email, it's Ben Blackmore.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's a different one. I would probably pick a period piece because I really do admire the craftsmanship that goes into them, and they are beautiful and delicate in appearance, very well designed. But for me, I would never make one just because I don't want to make one. I don't want to make a period. They're
That's as
gorgeous.
good of a reason as I've ever heard not to make something.
No, it's funny because I'm on Matt's side on this. I was thinking, I didn't really want to answer this question because I don't like to look at a piece and say I'd really like to build that, but I'm never going to do it kind of idea. But I think I would put a period piece, like one of those ornate, like a federal, maybe not federal, but Queen Anne, highboy type thing. I don't think I would build it because I don't think I could fit it in my house. That's another reason. But it's not my style of furniture. It doesn't fit with my family's aesthetic or my aesthetics. So.
It'd be nice to make like something with like a nice Queen Anne, nice cabriole leg that comes down to like a pad foot, or maybe a ball and claw. I don't really like those things, but so let's say a pad foot, really nice pad foot, nice lines, maybe with a sculpted or shaped apron, like a porringer tea table or something like that. Which gorgeous piece of furniture and really nice and
totally well made.
But and we're not really answering the guy's question because it's like something you'd like to make, but you never would. Because I just wouldn't like to really make those. But
if somebody offered you a commission
to make one,
you would enjoy it.
No,
you would enjoy the process.
Honestly, if someone came to me and said, "Hey, I'd like you to make this period piece," I'd say, "I'm not the person.
There's a better guy.
Here's someone else that could do it. Find someone else."
So you're really not answering this question at all.
Because honestly, I don't think there is. I don't think I can answer because I don't think there is a piece that I would really like to make that I just never will make.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was leaning toward. Like, if I want to make it, I'm going to do it. But like I said, I don't think I would make a period piece because it's just not my cup of tea. It's not my style. But I've learned a lot of techniques from reading period-related articles. So they're chock full of great construction methods. It's just the style isn't.
Yeah,
my thing. But also, I mean, it's a hard question for me to answer because everything I make now is stuff that I designed myself.
That's where I thought you were going.
So
you're not going to make something that you didn't design.
Yeah, and I wouldn't do that either. So it's a hard. I can't say that there's something I want to make that I wouldn't make because everything I design everything that I make. So I wouldn't design something and go, I really want to make that, but I'm not going to make it.
Yeah. Way to dodge the question.
Well, I mean,
both of you.
Yeah.
I don't think we dodged it. We're just being honest.
Answered it to the best
You
of our
should both be
ability.
ashamed of
We're
yourselves.
keeping it real, my friend.
Yeah.
We actually just wanted to hang you out to dry. So let's move on to the next question. This one is from, this is the real spelling, and I'm not sure if that's the pronunciation, but Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Jeremy. And Jeremy writes, I heard the latest podcast mentioning Matt's appearance on the Highland Woodworker web TV show, so I made sure to watch. Is there a difference between his jig and a miter jack? They appear to be the same thing to me. Matt?
Well,
I'll answer this one.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Ben.
I have no idea.
I would say in function, there's not really much of a difference, but in design, there's quite a bit of a difference. A miter jack is a doohickey that has a fixed jaw at one end, and that jaw is usually kind of tall, and it's got a 45-degree ramp on one side. And then underneath that normally are two pieces of wood that are kind of long, and they have some kind of track in them. Often it's just a dado. And then there's another jaw that's like the first jaw in that it's got a 45-degree ramp on it, right? But it rides in those tracks, and it's attached to a screw so that when you do this, it moves back and forth, right? So
I zoned out about 37 seconds ago. I don't know where.
So you clamp the stuff between the jaws of this vise, and it's got the 45-degree ramp on the jaws so that you can your plane will follow that angle in miter. So the jaws move on that doohickey.
I know where he's at. Come on, Ben.
Yeah,
Okay.
we ran the last time that we ran a miter jack in the magazine was by Toby. I never get this guy's last name right. Winteringham.
I don't know.
Or maybe Toby Winterbottom. I swear I cannot. It's one or the other. I cannot remember. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but that's his name.
It just comes naturally.
And I made that, and it's really cool. And I used it for a long time. But the thing that I'm using in that episode is more like just a straight up shooting board where it has two fixed rails on either side of the base, and those rails have a 45 degree on the end, so there's no movable jaw to clamp the workpiece in place. It is clamped down by a Stako style clamp, and so it's similar. They do the same thing functionally, but the design and execution of how it's done is different. So that's the
Yours has a clamp. The other one, the jaws clamp it down. That's about it.
And mine's a lot. It's small. It's made for small parts.
So they're pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, just like a table saw blade set at 45, they're all the same thing.
It's gonna be a cage match soon. I'm loving it. All right. Well, let's move on and talk about another topic. Last week, the three of us actually, were in Atlanta for the International Woodworking Fair, or Woodworkers Fair. Short is IWF. That's what we call it. And one thing I wanted to mention, we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the tools that we saw, but I wanted to throw some props at one of our frequent contributors, Craig Thibodeau, woodworker out in San Diego. Yeah. Craig's automation table won the grand prize in the 2016 Veneer Tech Craftsman Challenge at the show. So that's big props for him. If you haven't seen it, you may have seen it on our website, but if you want to check it out, go to ctfinefurniture.com and get a glimpse of the video. But it's this Röntgen type table where you press different pieces or different parts of it, and it pops out and closes. It's pretty intense.
A what kind of table?
Röntgen? How do you pronounce it?
Oh, Röntgen.
Röntgen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's no N in the front.
I keep
Röntgen.
Röntgen.
The thing that blows me away is, Craig builds a lot of pieces.
Yeah, a lot.
And I would think this piece would take most professionals the entire year to build.
No, it's funny because when I was out there in, I think, end of May, maybe it was last year, but by the time I went out there for the San Diego Design and Wood Challenge show, and he had the mechanisms made, and by the time I got back, within probably a month, the piece was being sent out to finishing. I think
he uses Lego for all the substrate.
It's just 3D printed, spray painted.
Well, what's really cool about Craig, and I don't want to go off topic too far because we need to stay on topic, but Craig has he has an industrial engineer background, and he has all this knowledge of this hardware that no one knows about, like springs and pulleys and things like that are used for various
I've
mechanisms.
known about springs for years.
No,
I've also known about pulleys for a long time.
Not this type, but this is like aircraft type material. It's really lightweight, and he knows how to use it and where to put it, and it's pretty incredible when you look inside of that mechanism and how it all works. Anyway, so
he blew my mind that time he used screws. I had never heard of them before. But Craig's actually a great place to see what Craig is up to is on Instagram.
I'm going to send Matt out and work with Craig.
His Instagram is phenomenal.
It's great.
The only thing that I hate about his
it's
Instagram,
Fine Furniture.
I always think it's somebody in Connecticut, and I go, why am I not filming this guy right now? Oh, he's in San Diego.
I was bummed that Craig got rid of his big bandsaw.
Yeah.
He sold it. I was really bummed about that.
I will point out to you, Craig and I are actually friendly, and we email each other quite a bit in chat.
Good.
So
that may end now. So let's, there were
Because you're taught an email just went away.
this the IWF show. Getting back to point was it seemed pretty well attended. We talked to a lot of the vendors there, and they all seemed to say that traffic has been up from previous shows in Las Vegas and Atlanta before, and it looks like companies are starting to open up purse strings more to do some more research and development and try to come out with some new tools. So we thought it would be fun to talk about, pick one that we all, well, maybe not we all liked, but that each of us liked. So
Yeah. You got me?
Who wants to go first?
No, I'll go first. I will say, actually, I mean, it was kind of hard to pick one thing. It was like, well, because actually there's a lot of cool stuff. Raycon has some really great stuff coming out, or stuff that looks great, interesting things coming out. Lee Valley Veritas does. Rockler does.
Yep. And the Bow.
The guys from Bow.
I don't know if was it Bow or is that
the
just
name
the
of the company? Is Bow, B-O-W. That's their last name, and we actually are reviewing their new featherboard in the issue that goes to the printer tomorrow or earlier this week, depending on when you're listening to this. And those are really cool products, and they had some more products designed with this high density foam coming out in the near future.
I don't know if we can talk about it, but
but that was really exciting.
They said I could post it on.
Okay.
So
and there were lots
cool
of really cool things about glue.
Lots of glue.
A lot of
industrial glue. Yeah, it's like not but there were other. I mean, there were glues more for our us and our readers there too as well. All right, so my favorite tool. It was hard to pick one, but I think the thing that I'm most excited to get into the office for review is the new Tormek, the new full size Tormek. I think it's called the T8 because the last one was the T7.
The Terminator.
Yes, that's the Terminator. And it's now the body now is made out of zinc, right? Wasn't it zinc? And
yes, I think it was zinc.
And like all the little nobules that come off it are part of the casting rather than being welded on. And and they made improvements to the water bucket that goes under the wheel. So I'm really interested in seeing that, mostly because I would like a Tormek.
Yeah, I know. You've already declared that's your next tool purchase. So
so I'm really interested to see the new one and what all's going on with that. Very cool, very exciting.
Yeah, the other power tool company that had some great machines was Laguna. We finally got to check out their new 14-inch bandsaw, the one that has the disc brake. I don't remember the model number.
It's the 14BX.
BX.
And actually, a review of the 14BX is in the next issue, along with that Bow featherboard.
Giddy up.
Yeah.
Good issue.
And they have some new, Laguna has some very, as they say, sexy dust collectors coming out. So, and they are very attractive.
Yeah, their designers have been working hard.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
So, rock and roll. Do you want me to go?
Sure.
Well, I actually had a couple things. My all-time favorite from the show is this bottle opener that Oneida gave me.
All right, Pekovich.
So I was with Tom, and he ran over thinking it was a member.
While I'm talking, I'm going to let Ben, give it a tool test live.
See if it
works. So that's all good.
Ben just can't use it.
There we go.
That works.
Yeah.
So anyway, what my favorite item that I saw, being that I just used my router table, was
so it's not the bottle opener.
It's not the bottle.
Thank
no,
goodness.
this is number 2. No, the bottle opener
stinks.
It stinks. All right. Well, there goes that. I guess we're not going to run this in T&M. But Rockler is selling these offset collet wrenches for routers and router tables, and the reason I like this was I just used my router table, and every time I use it, I bang my knuckles together. So these offset wrenches are really nifty and should reduce the pain of getting router bits in and out of my table.
But what's really cool is that one of them has these little doodahs on them, and they hook over the collet so that it doesn't fall down.
Drop down. And
So it always is sitting up
the same.
where it wants to be. Did you say that?
No. stole my thunder, but that's okay.
Price is good too.
Hey, you forgot one.
Sorry, boss.
You haven't completed the test, man.
I thought that those abrasions on your knuckles were because you're a knuckle dragger.
No.
No?
I thought it was because he's been opening his beers like this.
Using my fingers. So these wrenches actually are available now, according to the folks at Rockler. So hopefully we'll be able to check them out and give a thumbs up and thumbs down or whatever. But they look good.
Yeah. Awesome.
My all-time favorite tool of all time at IWF 2016 was the Veritas Quick Release Wonder Dog, Quick Action Wonder Dog. Mm-hmm. And if anyone's seen the normal Wonder Dog, it's just a 3/4 inch stud with threads, and you put it in a dog hole and tighten it up, and it acts as an end vise or a tail vise, whichever you want to call it. And great little thing, great little problem solver. But if you've ever seen somebody operate one, they're sitting there with the
because you have to you crank it.
You can't flip the handle
flip it,
up.
crank it, flip it, crank it, flip it. Yeah.
And this is one of those. Why didn't they think of this the first time? It's so obvious when you see it. But it's just got a quick release, and then it cams to put the pressure on.
Yeah.
And we'll show a video on the YouTube version, but it worked incredibly well. Super well made, it looked like to me. Just one of those products. And,
Another thing that
really
they have, which was really cool, they have mortise chisels coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really good.
PMV 11 too.
Yeah, and then they showed us a prototype of this new tool, which you put in your ear, and it translates between English and Canadian.
Hey. Awesome.
Yeah, it's
very helpful
fantastic.
At bars,
yes.
But actually, I really liked. They make such cool designs. They had that angle finder.
Yes,
that was really, really beautiful. Really
one.
simple little doodad, and
nice little
just
plain hammer.
Yeah, nice plain hammer. Yeah.
So we can always count on Lee Valley to have new stuff at every show. Yeah. So it's good.
So this was probably the fourth or fifth time that I've been to IWF or AWFS, and in some ways I always kind of dread going because so much of it is geared towards industrial wood manufacturing.
Is it maybe it's the camper that we're sending you in?
You make me sleep in a tent in the parking lot at the Georgia Dome. It's terrible.
6-pack of Coke and a bag of chips.
Yeah, but I always make some interesting friends when I'm there. But then you get there, and despite there's like factory-sized woodworking machines running, which is incredible. It's fun. It's interesting to see that. But there always turns out to be really fascinating new products to look at that really are relevant to the type of woodworking that we do.
Yeah. You just have to walk a long way to get to them.
Yeah, it's a lot of walking.
I was averaging probably 5.5 miles a day of walking.
Yeah, I did 7.5 on the Friday that we were there. That was pretty crazy.
The best part about it to me, though, was we had a booth this year.
Yes.
Yeah. And we weren't there a whole lot, but when we were there and people talking about the magazine and how long they've had it and how much they've learned from it and everything, it was really, really cool.
It's funny
to talk to the readers.
In previous years that we had the booth there, I didn't recall getting as much traffic and as much interaction with people, and that's one of the reasons that we made a decision a few years ago to stop setting up a booth at the various shows. It just didn't seem to do any, have any effect, but there just seemed to be an energy.
Well, I think we had so much traffic to our booth because we were right outside the restrooms.
Right near the fire exits. Right near the fire exits.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to one more question. This one comes from Pete, and Pete says, "I own a few vintage Stanley Baileys and Bedrocks. I've tuned them all up as needed, and they perform well. My question is, why do the sole and frog components get out of true over the years?"
Well, cast iron does move.
There you go. Cast iron will definitely move over the years, especially in castings like you have in a plane. Yeah. Because they're kind of thin and everything. Back in the day, and I'm sure even still today, that when machinery manufacturers make a casting, they let it sit and season for a while before they true it and then use it. Right. And the length, I mean, I think back in the day, like they would really let them sit for years and years before they would true them and then put them on a machine. I'm not sure how long they do it now because manufacturing processes change. And anyways, but yeah, that's the answer is that cast iron moves. And over the years, it can move enough that it becomes a problem for the functioning of a hand plane.
After our pre-production meeting yesterday, I went back and checked out Raleigh's Taunton workshop video. And if you don't know, there's a website, tauntonworkshops.com, and there's basically videos available for sale that that are premium content.
What's that URL again?
tauntonworkshops.com.
Premium.
And there's one of refurbishing hand planes with Raleigh Johnson. And I was watching, it's kind of mesmerizing watching Raleigh refurbish his hand plane. And I might have sat at my desk a little longer than I probably should have watching it. But
I don't know if you really wanted to admit that.
it's work.
It was work.
Yeah.
It was work.
But
no, I mean the watching Raleigh thing.
he's dreamy.
All right. Okay.
So, but it seems like on the frogs, he says there's one of the toes of the frog is consistently dipping. So it seemed like it's actually a machining issue at that point on a lot of these
wasn't going to
Stanleys.
say that, but yeah.
But these are Stanleys that were mass produced back, before.
It could have to do with the castings not being very good, with not much care taken in pouring them.
Yeah.
It could be machining them was an issue.
Or they just had to make a lot of them.
Yeah, and those, exactly. Those
They
planes,
weren't a premium price tool. at that
they
point.
came out made for the building boom that was happening at that time.
The tolerances with which someone like Lee Nielsen or Veritas manufactures a hand plane are far greater than the tolerances I think they were manufactured at 70, 80 years ago.
And even to update, Stanley is doing a much better job obviously nowadays than they did back then because it's less of a demand.
Yeah.
They're not cranking them out post wartime.
Yeah.
But if anyone is interested in refurbing a plane, it was a great video, and especially how he was truing up the frog with valve grinding.
There's
compound.
also a great article
Is there?
on that too.
Yeah, also written by Rolando Johnson.
Yes,
What magazine?
photographed by Thomas C. McKenna.
Oh,
It was, I think, in a Fine
the
Woodworking.
dynamic duo right
Issue
there.
It was
54.
from like 1978.
It was right between the Klompen article and the
I was
Black Plane article.
I was 17 at the time.
The other thing sometimes that'll happen is if you crank down the frog too tightly and then you really crank down the blade or whatever, that can sometimes cause the sole to bow a little bit. I'm just making that up.
The other thing is there's a distinct possibility that the frog was not originally the one manufactured with
It could be.
the
It could be.
body of the plane too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
All these caveats.
a lot of reasons.
My first two hand planes I ever bought, I bought them off eBay. They each were about $15. Stanley, Bailey planes, not particularly old ones, but I got them and the soles were not flat. So I was like, I'll just fettle them. 10 hours later.
Fettle?
What is a fettle, and why
To
would
Is
flatten.
that some kind of Greek term?
No.
Greek
Dr.
philosophical
Kenny?
term?
Dr. Kenny.
It's a common term for flattening the plane sole. You fettle it.
All right.
Uh,
We're going to use that in the head next time.
yeah.
Fettle your plane.
Fettle your plane.
to fettle or not to fettle?
And 10 other things illegal in Alabama.
All right. we're gonna-
But 10 hours later, and that number 5 was still not flat, I just chucked it in the trash. Man, I was like, forget this. And that's, I bought one used plane after that, and that was it.
Well, I do have to say, we're going to wrap it up now, that the Liz Healy was right about the 3 o'clock hour. So that's it for this episode of Shop Talk Live. Tune in again in 2 weeks on September 16th for our next episode. Remember to send your questions and comments to shoptalk@taunton.com, and please spread the word about Shop Talk Live to your woodworking friends and neighbors. You can catch the podcast via iTunes, stream it on the web at shoptalklive.com, or catch us on iHeartRadio. Finally, you can keep up with Fine Woodworking on Instagram and on Facebook, and look for all of us on Instagram as well. Thanks for listening, and have fun in the shop.
Yeah, let's do the podcast in the afternoon. That's a great idea, guys. Yeah.
Hey, as Liz Healy says, after 2 o'clock, all bets are off. With me, at least.
This is going to be great. All right. Let's do this, as they say in Straight Outta Compton. Don't